Sullivan. I'm a former IRS agent and teaching instructor. Welcome to my YouTube station. I'm feeling a bit under the weather today. This is the home of the 5-minute or less video. I worked at IRS for a decade. I've been in private practice for 4 decades. I've been doing this for 50 years. I'm a national expert in IRS resolution matters. I should be right after 50 years. Yeah, go figure. I have been on the national news a lot lately. You can see my interviews. They're not all up yet, but there's about another 5 or 6 coming. But you can see my interviews at 777irs.com. And you can see my cast of former IRS characters. We're like the Mickey characters. We all have a Mickey name. Anyway, I do these videos for 3 reasons. So you don't get ripped off. You hear the truth in love and honesty, whether you want to hear it that way or not. We try to help you make decisions as to the way. A lot of them really are just public service. I just get here and ramble, but I do it in 5 minutes. I've done this so long, I don't need a coat or tie. If you're expecting me to, you'll never see that, but I have to do those on my national news interviews, just so you know. So I got to get all my cookies and snacks out of the picture. They're no good. Well, you should see them all. I got some good snacks. Matter of fact, I've been noshing on some Hershey Kisses, which I absolutely love. Anyway, today I want to tell you about, if you owe IRS debt, there's only 2 things IRS is interested in. They give you this long ass financial statement, the 433A. If a revenue officer is going to have it, or the service center has it, you only got a 2-pager, which really ain't bad, but your small cases wind up in the service center, which a lot of times you could handle if they're small debts. And if you're going through the offer and compromise, oh my God, they put you through the mill. They ask 8 million questions. They don't need to, but they do. So anyway, let me tell you the 2 things that IRS is interested. These are the 2 things that you have to know. As a former IRS agent who's been doing this long, worked over 10,000 cases, the only 2 things I wanted to know is very simple. What are your assets and what's your income? Only 2 things I cared about the financial statement. I don't care about your story. I got to write that down because everyone thinks that IRS cares about your story. I'm going to write that down because everyone thinks IRS cares. When people call me lovingly, they want to tell me what happened to them. IRS doesn't care, and to be honest with you, and I don't want to hurt you, people have all sorts of tragedy and why this happened. IRS just wants the financial statement. They don't care about the story. When I was a former IRS agent, I'd knock on doors. People would come in. They'd give me story after story. At the end of the day, I just want the financial statement. But IRS wants your assets and your income. Let me just dive into them just a little so you kind of understand what I mean. So for assets, they're going to want to find out if any of your assets are liquid and if you can borrow against them, and should you sell them to pay the debt. So those are the reasons why they want your asset. Once again, they may want you to liquidate the assets or sell the asset. They may want you to borrow against it. If you got equity in a home, they're going to want you to borrow against that equity. And sometimes they tell you to get rid of an asset. So you can make an IRS debt. What would be an example? Let's say you owe IRS and you got rental property, and your all your money goes to that rental property. You owe debt. IRS can say, get rid of the rental. We want the money. You shouldn't be spending. I'm just giving you an example. You shouldn't be spending money that isn't yours. IRS considers assets that you have theirs when you owe IRS money. If you have equity in your cars, equity in your home, equity in stocks, IRS says, hey, that's our tax money that you're holding. That's the mindset of the Internal Revenue Service, and you've got to know that. Lastly, they're going to want to know what your income to expense ratio. What most people don't know is that IRS has what's called national standards of what you are allowed to spend in 4 categories: food and clothing, housing and utilities, car payments and expenses to drive the car. IRS limits you to the region you live in on how much you're going to spend. Very simply, IRS is going to scratch those off the financial statement, and they're going to put their numbers in rather than yours. So when you're doing all this stuff with IRS debt, know that at the end of the day, IRS is zeroing only just on those two things. That's the truth. Listen, give me a subscription. You know why I need them? By the way, you know why everyone needs them on YouTube? I'll tell you why. Very simple. The reason you need them is YouTube values those. If people subscribe to you, it's like you're giving them good information, and YouTube says, boy, this station must be good. So maybe you like my hat. You can subscribe me even if you didn't like what I said. I'd appreciate a subscription. Thank you. I hope you good information. If you want to get a hold of us for representation, you can. I very much appreciate you listening and appreciate you being a YouTube subscriber. Thank you so much.